So I was going to cover the Donald Trump rally tonight live. Didn't get a chance to. I was just transfixed watching it. And this is your late night watch party. Or if you're waking up in the morning, which you should be, this is your early morning update. But the president was hitting all the incendiary sound bites that one would hope he would. Clearly, he is convinced that that he has been snookered by the power of the left-wing and CDC, Washington bureaucracy, pharmaceutical, medical community. I mean, when you hear him talking about what he says, it's like, just let's get this behind us. Taking it seriously, it was serious. I saved a whole lot of lives by shutting off all the traffic from China. But then he says, this is nutty because something about all these new cases, like in Dallas, who the heck does it? It's like in Texas, every new case. It doesn't matter how many new cases there are. George Floyd, I was telling my wife tonight, George Floyd, they did the autopsy on him, and they found that he had, fentanyl and drugs and stuff in his system. But what was most amazing was that he was COVID positive. I think there are probably numbers of people that aren't carrying symptoms of the COVID virus. And I know I'm going to get the lecture from some leftists out there. The fact of the matter is, Trump is nailing it with you're shutting down and destroying the economy and robbing kids of an education. When he's talking to the governor of New Jersey, he says, there was only one death out of the whole state of New Jersey. It was under the age of 18. And he said, so what stop? He said, almost like saying, stop with the testing to find out how many people have it. We're looking for people that are symptomatic, that have the symptoms. And so anyway, you get the point. But it doesn't matter because you got tens of thousands of people out there on the streets getting cheered on by the media. So you know that the hypocrisy, of course, they want to stop the spread of COVID at church and at Trump rallies. This has never been such a blatant spiritual piece of buffoonery, in my life. But let's just catch a moment of Le Presidente. And it's just a random moment here, but any moment is kind of worth it. Let's just catch what he's got. And then I'm going to show you the translation, the transcription, how they're screwing up the transcript because they don't want to interpret it. Okay. Yeah.
Almost $40 a barrel.
He restored we're about to go under with our energy. Nobody knows it. We're about to get wiped out.
Lose 10 million energy jobs, 10 million jobs. So Texas and Oklahoma and North Dakota and many other states would have been hurt. Now you think you're going to be hurt there? You try putting AOC in charge of your energy.
Yeah, Ocasio-Cortez in charge of your energy. Imagine Biden if he was in the White House now. All business would be shut down.
Look like child's play to the people in energy. She has one problem. It's called petroleum. No president or administration has done more in the first 3.5 years than the Trump administration. Not even nobody. Our incredible success in rebuilding America stands in stark contrast to the extremism and destruction and violence
Here he goes.
of the radical left. We just saw it outside. You just saw it outside. You saw these thugs that came along.
Thugs?
These people call them protesters. Isn't it beautiful? It's so beautiful. No, they're so wonderful. They call them the Boston Tea Party. They're so wonderful. Yeah, they call them. You ever watch fake news CNN? You ever watch where they go? How about the CNN anchor? How about the CNN anchor? Did a little shave job in the head, which is fun. And he's standing in front of a building saying things are very peaceful here. And the building it looks like the biggest fire I've ever seen. The whole town is burning. It's like the biggest fire, and he said, things are very good here, Anderson. I think it's good.
This so toasts them. They can't stand this.
You ever see that?
Watch him when he gets
Like
into...
the world was coming to an end. And you know, we did something in Minneapolis. After watching for 3 or 4 days, I called. I said, you got to get out. You can't protect yourselves. I got them to take 8,000 National Guardsmen. And in 1 hour,
1 hour.
it all ended, and they rode through the next 3 weeks with no problem. And we did the same thing in other cities. But how about Seattle? Isn't that great? So they take over a big chunk of a city called Seattle. I mean, we're not talking about some little place. We're talking about Seattle. Have you ever been to Seattle? They took over a big chunk, and the governor, who's radical left, all of these places I talk about are Democrat. You know that. Every one of them. Every one of them. And I have an offer out. I said, anytime you want, we'll come in, we'll straighten it out in 1 hour or less. Now, I may be wrong, but it's probably better for us to just watch that disaster.
Yeah, I think we're all getting a wake-up call. This is the future of America. In every city. Into the
I flew in
suburbs.
with some of our great congressmen who we're going to introduce in a second, and I said to him, Congressman, what do you think? I can straighten it out fast. Should we just go in? No, sir. Let it simmer for a little while. Let people see what radical left Democrats will do to our country.
This is the main campaign. I want you to see that. Just to listen to that. Even if you heard it before, this is where he's going to go. It's only got 100 days.
But Americans have watched left-wing radicals burn down buildings, loot businesses, destroy private property, injure hundreds of dedicated police officers. These police officers, they get injured. They don't complain. They're incredible. And injure thousands upon thousands of people only to hear the radical fake news say what a beautiful rally it was. And they never talk about COVID. They don't talk about when you see
Here we go.
25,000 people walking down Fifth Avenue or walking down a street of a Democrat-run city. You never hear them saying they're not wearing their mask. You don't hear them say as they're breaking windows and running in. And then when I say the looters, the anarchists, the agitators, they say, what a terrible thing for our president to say. What a terrible thing. But you don't hear them talking about COVID. COVID.
Listen to this.
To be specific, COVID-19.
Here we go.
That name gets further and further away from China as opposed to calling it the Chinese virus.
Oh my gosh. No sensitivity whatsoever.
And despite the fact that I have done a phenomenal job with it.
Done a phenomenal
I shut
job.
down the
He always
United States
stands up when he's
to
complimenting
very
himself.
heavily infected, but all people from China in late January, which is months earlier than other people would have done it if they would have done it at all. I saved hundreds of thousands of lives. We don't ever
You know how he stays strong?
get even a
He
mention.
keeps affirming himself. He
And I
rehearses
closed
everything
it
he's ever
down
done
to
right.
Europe early. Closed it down because I saw what was happening. And by the way, most people said, don't do it. Don't do it. We saved hundreds of thousands of lives. And all we do is get hit on like we're terrible. And what we've done with the ventilators and with the medical equipment
Oh yeah.
and with testing, you know, testing
Listen.
is a double-edged sword.
Oh no, watch this.
We've tested now 25 million people.
He's going to step into it.
It's probably 20 million people more than anybody else. Germany's done a lot. South Korea's done a lot. They call me, they say, the job you're doing, here's the bad part.
Ready?
When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people, you're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
Exactly.
test, and they test. We got tests that people don't know what's going on. We got tests. We got another one over here. The young man's 10 years old. He's got the sniffles. He'll recover in about 15 minutes. That's a case. Add up to it. That's a case.
See what I mean? He's catching on. He is catching on. And now you're catching on. Look at what he's thinking right now. $5 trillion to let these cats
I was
suck on
actually
him.
with a very nice man, very good man, even though he's very liberal, the governor of New Jersey, right? We know him? No, listen, he said to me something that's amazing. New Jersey was very heavily hit, very hard hit. Thousands of
Listen to this.
He said with thousands of people that died, thousands of people, there was only one person that died under the age of 18. Would you believe that? Which tells me one thing, that kids are much stronger than us.
Only one kid. He's saying get back to
When
school.
you see a little kid running around, say, boy, oh boy, do you have a great immune system. How about a piece of your immune system? They don't even know about this. Let's open the schools, please.
Yeah.
Open.
See what I mean? These Democrats would have us shut down and destroyed and say, what could we do? We have a
Open
pandemic.
the schools. We got to get them open. In the fall, we got to get them open. The unhinged left-wing mob
In the fall, too
is
bad.
trying to vandalize our history, desecrate our monuments, our beautiful monuments. Tear down our statues and punish, cancel, and persecute anyone who does not conform to their demands for absolute and total control. We're not conforming. That's why we're here, actually.
All right. I want to talk about this rally tonight. By the way,
This cruel campaign of censorship and exclusion
it is.
violates everything we hold dear as Americans. They want to demolish our heritage so they can impose their new oppressive regime in its place.
Yep.
They want to defund and dissolve our police departments. Think of that.
I'm going to go back here for a second. Now, take a look. This is like 1 million views, right? Have you seen the idiotic hack job that they've done with the transcript? You got just go over there. What you do is you just go like on YouTube and you click on this deal here and you go to open transcript. And then you get a transcript. And you could literally, this is how, I print these things out. This is illiterate. An exclusion. Hold they want so they can oppressive regime one of and one when the first I said, well, Minneapolis, I got a lot of problems. Hey, it's what's all the young women whose husband is away as a traveling salesman with every evening 18 in this. I'm telling you something. Facebook does a better job of spontaneously translating. This is all part of the tech industry screwing around with this election already. It's absolute idiocy. This is like someone who doesn't speak English. And I promise you, they're not putting their best. They're deliberately screwing with it. You got to catch these things because they're going to play these games throughout the whole period. Now, what I'm going to tell you now, most of you already know about the other cool incendiary moments. Basically, Trump's he's doing what he's got to do, which is he's calling out the left. My concern is AOC is bragging, because all the kids on TikTok. See, we got a very dangerous thing happening. The kids, the youth that you're noticing it's a large number of undisciplined, spoiled white kids. And, you'd be thinking that you'd be looking at angry minorities like the black community, obviously. But what you're seeing is the majority of this pulling down the statue stuff is being done by a spirit of rebellion on all the college kids and college-age kids and teenagers who have been pretty much raised with absentee fathers, no discipline, and have been indulged and spoiled without ever having to be tested by the world. They didn't have a world war. They didn't have a Great Depression, and it's almost like a rite of passage, a proof of manhood, to stand for something and to rage against some symbolic figure. And like they would have Nixon or Lyndon Johnson. We've been here before in youth, But Trump's a different dude. I mean, this is kind of like the wrong persona to be one. And Nixon was kind of like bizarre and LBJ. Trump's a different character. And what it does is it puts in greater and starker relief. This is my commentary. Starker relief. The rebellion, insubordination, adolescence, and arrogance of the youth. They didn't just, and the news is now becoming not just a problem, but loathed. There is an increasing contempt for the manipulative, toxic poisoning that the media is doing, and an increasing fear and anxiety over the tech giants and the platforms such as Snapchat that is refusing to allow the president to even advertise. And TikTok, which according to AOC, was used by the left in order to incite 300, 400,000 fictitious tickets so that people thought 1 million tickets were sold. And so if you think 1 million tickets are sold, you're not going to be going in to a war zone, and you're fearful about what's going to happen, and you know that these protesters are hurting and shooting and killing, and policemen are seemingly either under siege or standing by idle and watching their own precincts get burned down. They're fleeing. We're turning over whole parts of the country, like in Seattle. So the average person, I mean, I know what's going on because I had Mercedes went there, and Diane and some of our team went there to the Trump rally, and it was an act of courage to go. And then you're thinking there's 1 million tickets sold, but then you're finding out the left is already using youth. I mean, TikTok is a platform for kids. So they are weaponizing youth. And the sad thing is youth is vulnerable because it's just the nature of when you're young and you're adolescent. And you got all that testosterone and energy, and you're really not thinking clearly. I mean, that's why, the drinking and driving fast and the accidents, and there's statistics that say that, there's a higher probability that this is going to happen with like young men that are driving and such under the influence. But what I'm trying to say is that in the spirit of rebelliousness that's in the last days, the powers of darkness that have come down are really working insidiously strong. And then there's this mobilizing, organizing, and then incendiary lighter fluid put on by the media that knows what it's doing in some kind of a wicked, deceived way. They want the anarchy because it's all anti-Trump, and they're so desperate to get their vengeance back on Trump, who points them out. And it's like, oh, we can't stop. We're going to finally stop him. Well, let me just give you just a little bit of this bit here, and then we're going to talk about the protesters. You didn't hear the whole story. I didn't know they urinated on Washington's statue and lit it on fire. I didn't know the whole story, but I want you guys to catch it now. Oh gosh, I got to listen to some goofball commercial first. Marketing, America just torments you with these. This is so incongruent too. You got these happy people, of course, interracial, and just keep a look at all of the anxiety that advertising has now in terms of what it has to present to you. And of course, this is incongruent because we're going to go to this happy music, and then we're going to go to America Burning. I always feel bad for these commercials. Like they seem so like they're out of timing. All right, give me something to say here. Talk to me.
The good and the bad in our past, because we've got both. Let's discuss with Republican candidate for Congress in Utah, Burgess Owens, and journalist and author Andy Ngo, who's been on the streets of a number of cities seeing this live. Gentlemen, welcome to you both.
Andy's been getting beaten up by Antifa. That's the guy.
All right, Andy, you have seen a lot of this tonight. We're watching it play out again in Washington, D.C. tonight. What do you make of what these protesters are calling for and what they want to see happen with all of these memorials?
What are they calling for?
They're doing this because they literally want to destroy what the United States actually is. So they're going after symbols because they want to erase the history.
They want to erase
what
the
happened
history.
In Portland last night was extremely disgraceful. You have had ongoing violent protests here for more than 20 days. And last night they surrounded a 100-year-old monument to George Washington, used rope, toppled it, set it on fire along with an American flag, and then urinated on it.
Urinated on it. Did you hear the urinating on the flag?
Yeah, I mean, Burgess, you're watching this as the rest of the country is too.
Urinated on the flag.
And we
You
hear
guys
from a lot
get
of folks
that?
who say these monuments should have been gone a long time ago. For a lot of people, they do represent pain and injustice. What's your take tonight?
Washington's pain.
They need to man up and woman up. You know, this is something that Karl Marx said very appropriately. Said as the truth. Said the first battlegrounds rewriting of history. What's made our country great is what we the people have done together. You destroy our history, you destroy anything in terms of appreciation of where we are today, pride in what we've done to overcome evil, and any kind of vision. What these people are doing, these are folks, by the way, who've never built anything in their lifetime, but they're entitled to think that they can go out and destroy anybody else's property because they don't like it. We have to realize that these same people will be known in history as the same one that stood for the murder of 20 million black babies over the last 30 years.
Let me just say something. He's saying an awful lot of interesting stuff there. One is the Marx strategy is to expunge a people's history. So all of this destruction of statues and history, it's like keep picking them off. And you could justify, because if you're the devil, you could find sin in anyone. And if you can find sin and you focus on the sin, then, the Bible says overcome evil with good. Well, the devil says overcome good with evil. And so you don't look at the virtue of a life. You don't look at the evolution of a life. You don't look at the education of a life. You don't look at Washington freeing the slaves and going virtually blind and ill in serving and birthing a country where he would have been hung had he been caught, and then turning that reins of power over after the agonizing 8 years of being president because you don't want to be king, and going back to retire and go work on your farm. None of that stuff is told because it's better to focus on the evil than the good. And yet, here's the amazing thing. We're all so sanctimonious, on the left especially. They are the modern day Pharisees. They are the Pharisees that crucified Jesus. I promise you, the same spirit's on them. They're like the Jews that got filled with the Holy Ghost in the upper room, were the Messianic community that was redemptive, and their biggest enemies were their brethren who were filled with the devil. And in America, the people that are filled with the devil right now are persecuting the folks that are filled with God or called by God. The left machine is so clearly demonically activated that for a Christian to try to be neutral now, and to me it's a good judge of whether or not someone should be listened to in the future by what they're saying right now. Because if they're saying, well, stay out of politics, the only answer is going to be revival, that's a blockhead. That's somebody you don't want to be following. Jesus called them blind leaders of the blind. In other words, I understand people that don't say things because they don't want to lose their money or their job or their position. They're afraid of the tech companies deplatforming them. I get that. I get that legitimate fear because that's where the left is going. It's trying to delegitimize America, and it's trying to put you into a digital gulag if they can nail you. And they're trying, and right now they're hitting Facebook with as they've done with other companies, with threats that they're getting threatened by their advertisers because the advertisers are getting bombarded by the digital bots on the left. The conservatives are so bad at this game, and Christians particularly are so bad at this. We're just naive regarding the extensiveness of the blitzkrieg. It's like Hitler had prepared a tank offensive, a blitzkrieg, and the armaments to be able to sweep Europe and literally trapped the British army in Dunkirk and overtook France, and nobody expected it. Well, that's the Democrat machinery right now. It's like a blitzkrieg. And what happened was, because, just to swing back on this, the rally tonight did not have seats filled because the activists, rioters, had literally encircled this where this event was and had to be moved back by the National Guard and by the police and by Secret Service. Now, mind you, this is Tulsa. You and I know Tulsa. Kenneth Hagin, Oral Roberts, Breadbasket of America, total conservative, and even that had chaos flying in, organizing itself on the streets. Forget about Seattle. And Trump couldn't even go to Chicago. I mean, Chicago's got what, 1,000, 300 people killed. It's like a Civil War battlefield every weekend, and so he couldn't even go speak there, which is of course Obama territory. And so Seattle, Portland, what the heck, New York. It's like, and we can't even go to Tulsa. I mean, what other city is there in America that's your ultimate Pentecostal Christian territory? And what happened was people that were there said that because of the disruption of the disruptors that came in, they had to circle off the building. So there were numbers of people that went down there, just like I know the numbers that they were making fun of at the inauguration for Trump. They were saying, well, he's exaggerated. No, those knuckleheads. After my burning limousine experience that CNN put on TV, the reality is that a whole bunch of us couldn't even get to the inauguration because we were blocked off, and for our own protection. Blocks, see what they do is when they're successful, you don't see the riots out front. They move them back blocks away. And so you've got this security zone, but it also means it's a no-go zone for people to be able to get into the event because they can't get past the security. Because let's face it, the guards don't know whether you're for us or against us, so they cut it off. So you had two things working at this event. 1 million people supposedly got tickets. A high percentage of them could have been fake in order to discourage people that were going. Those that were going knew they were going to a battle zone and had to face fear and possibly danger to be able to go, which I really respect. And then the anarchists showed up and made it difficult for them to be able to actually get in. So you had people that drove in, I know, from my hometown here that couldn't get into the event because of the anarchists, and they had to quarter off the place. So this is just it's a wild moment. It's a wild moment. And with in spite of that, I believe that this is going to work out because what you're looking at is the Marxist agenda that this man running for Congress here is talking about. And then he's talking about how the folks that are breaking everything down never built anything in their life. A lot of this is media coordinated anarchy. I think it's working to educate America. And I think a lot of Americans are going to be looking at this guy and looking at the candor with which he speaks. And they're going to say, thank God we got somebody that is talking, that is willing to face it.
You know, I've used the word on occasion, hombre. A very tough hombre is breaking into the window of a young woman whose husband is away as a traveling salesman or whatever he may do. And you call 911 and they say, I'm sorry.
Look at the translation.
This number is no longer working.
18 in this name. Whether it's a gold.
By the way, you have many cases like that.
It's totally screwing up the transcript.
An old woman, a young man, or an old man, and you're sleeping. So what are you going to do, right? So they wanted to fund. They really do. This is a serious movement. And in Minneapolis, the council's already passed it. In Seattle, you see what's going on there. It's even worse, okay? These people are stone cold crazy. They're crazy.
It's stone cold crazy. Now,
So
Christians are afraid to
save
say
your
that. Conservatives are afraid to say it. And that's the danger. It's the danger of our own cowardice.
You are so lucky I'm president. That's all I can tell you.
And this is how he endures what he goes through. And I think there's something to learn from this. Quit having a pity party about what people say about you and lead. See what I mean? It's like, okay, he just shakes his head. Would to God we could do that.
People have come up to me and say, how do you take it? I say, do I have a choice? Do I have a choice? We deal with a lot of bad people.
Come on, folks. Do we have a
Winning.
choice?
And every once in a while, I'll have one of these days where I'm hit left and right, like even this great event. What if you could have seen outside, or if you could have heard the reports, oh, it's COVID, it's this, it's, by the way, it's a disease, without question, has more names than any disease in history. I can name Kung Flu, I can name 19 different versions of names. Many call it a virus, which it is. Many call it a flu. What difference? I think we have 19 or 20 versions of the name. But they say to me, where do you get the energy? I say, I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. You know, it was interesting.
Hey, Nancy.
To show you
Seattle,
how big
huh?
they are. You might have seen it. So last week they called me, and they say, sir, West Point, we're ready. I said, oh, that's right. I have to make the commencement speech.
Oh, yeah.
West
So
Point.
as he
You know,
goes
they
off on
delayed it
this,
for 6 weeks.
he gets all upset about this. It's because he has to salute 600 times. He says, you do this, and you do this 600 times. He says, isometrics. I don't care. After a while, you don't need a weight in your hand. He said, and then after 600 of these, he's like, listen, what the heck is he? It's like 70 years old, 72 years old. Amazing. And he's like doing it in the sun. And then he goes to go drink some water. But the muscles are so tense. He's having a hard time getting and so the news media says he has Parkinson's. So then he goes to walk down this long steel ramp and he looks up at the news and he realizes after being out there all these hours and doing all this saluting and doing all this speech and he can't even move his right arm because it's so stiff from saluting, he realizes his leather shoes might slide down. And the last thing he wants to do is give that media an opportunity to see him, because he remembers Gerald Ford falling, out of the plane and Chevy Chase doing Saturday Night Live. And so he tells the general in front of him, he says, hey, we got a problem here because you got to stay close to me because I got to get off this stage, but I got leather sole shoes. You got rubber sole shoes. You got a long sloping steel slide. And the general goes, well, General, sir, that's what we got. So Trump has to go down. He's taking these little micro steps, basically. And they're going, see, Parkinson and possibly a stroke. He's not in good condition. And he's so upset because he knows how this looks. Finally, he just is out of heck with it. And he leaps the last steps. He just sprints down because he doesn't want to do the baby steps. And the media, of course, cut that part off because they wanted to focus on his drinking water. He calls his wife, Melania, what do you think of the speech? Well, she said, all I saw was the water drinking. Are you okay? He goes, what do you mean? My arm, I could hardly lift it. But he tells the story because this is what we love about him. It's kind of, I hate to say it, but it's the narcissistic revisitation of how news is fake and how he's working so hard and no one's giving him credit and how it's distorting everything. But when I say narcissistic, it means we don't need 10 minutes of your first rally, but we've grown to love him for this. Because we feel like we are the Trump whisperers. If you understand, it's like, you're just enjoying it. It's like, yeah, I get it. It's like it's like if you had a brother or an uncle that was sitting there telling you, they'll tell you the long version of the story because to them, there's a couple of points they want to make. And, so what? You're listening with them. What else are you going to do? And this is like, God bless him. Mike Pence comes out. I don't know what we're going to do with Mike because Mike comes out and he's like so scriptedly squeaky clean that we need to have the rough edges a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like, I want the unexpected indiscretion. I want, like when Trump goes, stop the testing already. I mean, my God, the left is going nuts because they're wearing their mask and they're hyperventilating. And here he is, stop with the testing. We're getting nothing but bad numbers because some more people that have it, 25 million. And it's like in Dallas, like I said, everybody that's got this, another COVID does it, they're traumatizing you. Like the thing, it's like I'm trying to figure out, are we having riots or are we having COVID? Can you pick one or the other as a problem? But since the riots aren't a problem, I'm not taking you serious anymore on your COVID phenomena here. Hey, if you liked this video today, you could help me out by leaving some comments, and you could vote up this video. Just give me a like sign and click on like so that I know if this is working for you. And also share it with your friends, because our entire movement is based upon people sharing ideas with other people. And if you want to be regularly notified about these broadcasts, then you want to subscribe so that you'll be able to get the latest material as soon as it comes out.